It seems like such a simple question, doesn't it? We all know a dog is alive and a rock, well, isn't. But what's the actual line? What's the scientific difference between life and everything else? Okay, let's really get into this because the answer is way more interesting than you might think. So, to start, let's think about a little puzzle, a fire. I mean, it really seems to have a life of its own, right? It consumes fuel, it gets bigger, it moves around, it even needs oxygen to breathe. So, by that logic, is it alive? This is exactly where things start to get tricky. And if you look at a puppy and a fire side by side, you can totally see the confusion. They both grow, they both need fuel to keep going, food for the puppy, wood for the fire, and they both release energy. Without a clear set of rules, the line between what's living and what's not starts to get really blurry. But hey, luckily for us, science loves clear rules. To solve this exact puzzle, biologists have created a kind of checklist. And here's the thing, it's not enough to just tick off one or two of the boxes. To be considered alive, something has to tick all of them. And here they are, the 6 official rules of life. So to get in the alive club, an organism has to have a cellular structure, it needs a metabolism, it has to maintain something called homeostasis, it's got to grow, it must respond to its environment, and finally, it has to be able to reproduce. Let's break down what each of these really means. We're going to start with the first 3 rules. I like to think of these as the internal machinery, all the fundamental stuff happening on the inside that, keeps the lights on. First up, cellular structure. This one is a total non-negotiable, a deal breaker. Think of cells as the tiny Lego bricks of life. Everything that is truly alive, from the smallest little bacterium to the biggest blue whale, is built from at least one of these incredible units. Next on the list, metabolism. So if cells are the building blocks, you can think of metabolism as the engine. It's basically the sum of all the chemical reactions that convert fuel, like the food you eat, into the energy you need to run, think, and just, live. So what does that look like in the real world? Well, it's your body breaking down a sandwich to get energy. It's using that energy to build new cells when you get a cut. And it's also the whole process of cleaning up and taking out the trash, getting rid of all the waste products. It's the constant chemical hustle of just being. All right, the third piece of our internal machinery is homeostasis. This one is one of my favorites. It's so cool. It's the ability to keep everything on the inside of your body stable and balanced, even when the world outside is going crazy. It's like having a really smart built-in thermostat. And you experience this literally all the time. When you get too hot, your internal thermostat kicks on and you start to sweat to cool down. If it's too cold, you shiver to generate heat. That automatic balancing act, that's homeostasis, and it is absolutely essential for life. Okay, so we've got the internal engine covered. Now, let's move on to the next 3 rules, which are all about how living things actually act and interact with the world around them. Number 4 on our checklist is growth. This one seems pretty obvious, right? Living things get bigger. A tiny seed turns into a huge tree. A baby grows into an adult. But it's not just about puffing up like a balloon. For organisms with more than one cell, it's about making more and more cells. Number 5 is response to stimuli. Put simply, living things are paying attention. They react to changes going on around them. Being alive means you're not just a passive object in the world. You are an active participant. I mean, think about a plant in your window literally bending its leaves towards the sun to get more light, or that split-second reflex you have to pull your hand away from a hot stove, or a gazelle sprinting away from a lion. All of these are life in action, responding to the world in order to stay alive. And that brings us to our 6th and final rule, reproduction. This is, of course, the ability for living things to make more of their own kind, passing their genetic blueprint on to the next generation. Now, this is a really important point. A single plant or animal can live its entire life without ever reproducing, and that's fine for that individual. But for the species as a whole to continue, for life itself to keep going from one generation to the next, reproduction is completely non-negotiable. All right, we have our 6 rules, we have the checklist. Now we can finally go back to our original puzzle with the fire and get a clear answer. So let's put it to the test. This table just lays it all out for us. Look at the puppy. Yep, it gets a yes for all 6 criteria. It's got cells, metabolism, homeostasis. It grows, responds, and reproduces. But the fire? It fails the test. Sure, it grows, and it has a kind of metabolism. and it responds to wind, but no cells, no homeostasis, and it can't reproduce on its own. And you might notice I threw a virus in there too, which is that classic borderline case that stumps everybody because it can only reproduce by hijacking another living cell. And there we have it, our final verdict. A fire is a really fascinating chemical reaction, for sure, but it is not alive. It misses way too many of the key criteria. It's a great mimic, but it just doesn't have the fundamental machinery or the complete set of actions that define life as we know it. So, the ultimate takeaway here is that life isn't just one thing. It's not just about growth or just about moving around. It's a complex, interconnected package of all 6 of these specific traits. An organism has to have the whole shebang to get into the club. And that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question. Our entire definition of life is based on what we've seen here on Earth. But what if we find something on Mars and it checks 5 out of the 6 boxes? What if it grows and reproduces, but it's not made of cells? Would we call it alive? Or would we have to rewrite the rules of life entirely? Definitely something to think about.